Welcome, everyone. Today I will take you through the step-by-step process of creating delicious sourdough bread right in your own kitchen. From preparing the starter to baking the perfect loaf, we'll provide detailed instructions and helpful tips along the way. So roll up your sleeves, dust off your mixing bowls, and let's get started on this sourdough recipe. First, let's dive into the ingredients for our sourdough bread. First up, we've got the starter. It's like the heartbeat of sourdough bread making. You'll need 1 cup of all-purpose flour, which provides the base for our wild yeast cultures to thrive. Then, add half a cup of lukewarm water to awaken those yeasties. And don't forget a 1/4 cup of active sourdough starter, which is basically the magic potion that gives our bread its tangy flavor and helps it rise. If you don't have a starter, no worries. You can get one from a friend or a reliable source. Now, onto the dough. We'll need 3 cups of bread flour. This flour has a higher protein content, which means it gives our bread that chewy texture we all love. Add in 1 1/4 cups of lukewarm water to hydrate the flour and get those gluten strands working their magic. Finally, a teaspoon and a half of salt for flavor and to help regulate yeast activity. And there you have it, the ingredients for our sourdough bread. Now, let's roll up our sleeves and get cooking. Alright, let's kick off day 1 of our sourdough recipe by preparing the starter. Grab a clean glass or plastic container. We want to keep things nice and hygienic for our little yeast buddies. Now, into that container, mix together 1 cup of all-purpose flour, half a cup of lukewarm water, and a 1/4 cup of active sourdough starter. Give it a good stir until everything is well combined. This is where the magic begins. Once everything is mixed up, cover the container loosely with a clean kitchen towel or some plastic wrap. We want to give our starter some breathing room while it works its fermenting magic. Now, find a cozy spot in your kitchen where the temperature is around 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius. This is the sweet spot for yeast activity. Pop your starter there and let it sit for the next 24 hours. And that's it for day 1. We've set the stage for some delicious sourdough bread. Tomorrow, we'll come back and give our starter some love with a feeding to keep it happy and bubbling away. Welcome back to day 2 of our sourdough journey. Today, we're going to give our starter some nourishment. After our starter has been fermenting away for 24 hours, it's time to give it some TLC. First things first, we need to discard half of the starter. This might seem wasteful, but it's necessary to maintain the right balance of yeast and bacteria. Now, once we've done that, we're going to add equal parts of all-purpose flour and lukewarm water. That's half a cup of flour and half a cup of water. Pour them into the container with the remaining starter and give it a good stir. We want to make sure that flour and water get evenly incorporated to feed those hungry microbes. After everything is mixed up, cover the container loosely again. We want to let our starter breathe while it continues to ferment. Pop it back into its cozy spot at room temperature, around 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius, and let it do its thing for another 24 hours. Alright, it's day 3 and time to get our hands dirty making the dough. Grab a large mixing bowl and let's get started. We're going to combine 3 cups of bread flour, which will give our bread that hearty texture, along with some lukewarm water. Oh, and don't forget to add a 1/4 cup or 60 milliliters of our active sourdough starter. We've nurtured that starter for 2 days, so let's put it to good use. Make sure to discard any extra starter or save it for future baking adventures. Now, mix everything together until a shaggy dough forms. It might seem a bit sticky, but don't worry, that's totally normal. Once it's all mixed up, cover the bowl and let it rest for about 30 minutes. This allows the flour to fully hydrate and makes it easier to knead later on. After our dough has had a little siesta, it's time to add some flavor enhancer, salt. Sprinkle about a teaspoon and a half of salt evenly over the dough. Now, roll up your sleeves because it's kneading time. Knead the dough for about 10 to 15 minutes until it becomes smooth and elastic. This is where we build up that gluten structure for that perfect texture. Once our dough is nice and kneaded, it's time to let it rise. Place it in a lightly oiled bowl, cover it with a kitchen towel or some plastic wrap, and let it rise at room temperature for about 4 to 6 hours or until it's doubled in size. This is where the magic happens, so be patient. Alright, It's shaping time. Our dough has been patiently rising, and now it's ready for its final transformation. First things first, gently deflate the dough. We want to release any excess air that's built up during the rise. Then, we'll shape it into either a round or oval loaf, depending on your preference. Use your hands to gently shape and tuck the dough underneath itself, forming a nice, tight surface. Once our loaf is shaped, it's time to give it a resting place. You can either place it on a well-floured surface or in a proofing basket, seam side down. This helps our loaf maintain its shape as it rises. Now, cover the dough loosely with a kitchen towel or some plastic wrap. We want to create a cozy environment for our dough to rise in. Let it sit for another 2 to 4 hours, or until it visibly expands. This final rise is crucial for developing those lovely air pockets and ensuring a light, airy texture in our bread. And now, it's time to bake our sourdough bread to golden perfection. First things first, let's preheat our oven to a toasty 450 degrees Fahrenheit, 230 degrees Celsius. While that's heating up, we want to place a Dutch oven or baking stone on the center rack to preheat as well. This helps create that perfect crusty exterior. Once our oven and Dutch oven or baking stone are nice and hot, it's time to transfer our risen dough. Carefully place it into the hot Dutch oven or onto the baking stone. Be gentle, we don't want to deflate all that hard work. Now, before we pop it in the oven, let's give our dough a little artistic flair. Grab a sharp knife or razor blade and score the top of the dough. This allows for expansion during baking and gives our loaf that classic sourdough look. Now, here's a little trick to achieve that coveted crust. Cover the Dutch oven with its lid or place a large metal bowl over the dough. This creates steam, which helps develop a crispy crust. Now, into the oven it goes. Bake for about 20 to 25 minutes with the lid on or bowl covering, then remove the lid and continue baking for an additional 20 to 25 minutes, or until the crust is golden brown and the bread sounds hollow when tapped on the bottom. And there you have it, folks. Our sourdough bread is ready to shine. Once it's out of the oven, let it cool on a wire rack for at least an hour before slicing. Trust me, it'll be worth the wait. Finally, let's go over some key tips to ensure success. First up, maintain your starter. Just like a pet, your sourdough starter needs regular feeding to stay healthy and active. This ensures a successful rise and develops that characteristic tangy flavor we love. Next, watch the dough. Pay attention to its consistency throughout the mixing and kneading process. If it's too dry, add a bit more water. If it's too wet, sprinkle in some extra flour. The dough should be tacky but not overly sticky for the best results. Now, patience is key. Sourdough bread making is not a quick process. It requires time for fermentation and rising to develop the best flavor and texture. So don't rush it. When it comes to baking, using steam is crucial for developing that crispy crust we crave. You can achieve this by baking your bread in a Dutch oven with a lid or by placing a metal bowl over the dough during the initial stages of baking. And lastly, don't be afraid to experiment. Try different flours or add-ins like herbs, seeds, or dried fruits to customize your sourdough bread to your liking. With attention to detail and a bit of practice, you'll soon be baking delicious sourdough bread that rivals the best bakeries in the city.